Business Nigeria. I am Yemisi Lanre Ido. Welcome this Friday, the 15th of January, or February, I beg your pardon, a few hours to the election, and Nigerians will be heading to the polls to vote in their president. While on Business Nigeria would also be monitoring the data, and as well on TVC News, we'll be monitoring the data minutes by minutes, hours by hours on how the elections will be going. But today, the NBS has told us that inflation came in at 11.4% year-on-year in January, unchanged from the previous month. Now, the movement is very minimal considering all factors, but analysts foresee stronger showings in the coming months, particularly following the implementation of the proposed 67% minimum wage increase. But after the elections, we'll see how that pans out, and we'll see what governor is paying or not paying, or paying lower. Well, there have been calls out that Nigerians or electorates should vote out the governor that would not be paying, but we don't know yet. We'll see how that goes after the elections. Plus, the week-long social media week has come and gone, but how best to use ideas learned to drive businesses? It's what's next. On Business Nigeria today, we'll be looking at insights from there and how to achieve more in a hyper-connected world that we are in now. Welcome once again. Well, let's get to it immediately. Couple of years back, businesses needed serious conventional advertising or marketing to grow their brands, attract clients, and connect to more people. Well, small businesses and startups especially found it difficult because they could not afford the big budgets. The situation kept them struggling to gain traction and most often relegated to the background. But that seemed to be in the past now, as the advent of social media platforms such as the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and others has introduced a different level of engagement. Well, let's talk social media driving businesses, especially in the tourism sector. And blogger and founder, thefisayo.com, Fisayo Layinka Bello, joins me in the studio. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, just before I come to you, for your information, statistics indicate that more than 3 billion people around the world now use social media every month. Well, that's transforming the outlook to real digital business. Meanwhile, there are strong indications that majority of these 3 billion users engage the social media for business rather than social purposes. That's statistics that we have, Fisayo. And do you agree with that?
Totally. I totally agree with it, because before social media took the pace as it is today, most people mostly depend on traditional media and, you know, the normal forms of making money, which was not as, you know, what would I say, lucrative as it is today.
So social media is making business so lucrative. Now tell us about it. You're a blogger,
yes,
a founder. You've been on it for a while now.
Yes.
Tell us, how do you use it? Especially we get that, okay, Facebook, YouTube, we mostly see small businesses using that platform to drive their businesses. So as a blogger, what drives your business more, especially this tourism business that you're in?
So what gave birth to my business is social media. I use social media.
Social media gave birth to it, actually.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I use social media as a tool to bring in customers for my business and to drive sales. So thefisayo.com started 2 years ago, going to 3 years next December. But it started 2 years ago with my phone and with the internet. What I basically leveraged on was using my phone, using the internet. It wasn't too much of having to look for so much resources, because what I needed was already next to me. And that is what social media brings to people these days, which is easy accessibility and low cost of entry. Yeah. How has it helped? So before social media, I can't really say anything about that, because I started my business basically with social media. But using social media gives me access to so many people that I would not normally get within my vicinity. I have customers coming to me because they see my post on YouTube. I have customers coming to me because they see my post on Instagram. Basically because I make videos on tourist destinations and other places that people can visit, and people are like, can you take me on this particular tour? Mostly because, I don't know if you see my video on Makoko. I did that video and I have a lot of international tourists coming to Nigeria because of that video. So social media, you know, opens the horizon for you, and there's no limit.
And I'm sure you've made so much money out of it.
Yes.
Now, how do you make it really? We really want to know, really, because many people use social media platform to chat, to send text messages just alone. But now it's bringing money into the economy. And you are one of such people that have enjoyed what social media could do and how much money it could bring to you as a person and to the country as a whole. So tell us about it. What do you actually do? Yes, you talk about blogging and all that, but how do you do it to ensure that, or it drives that eyeball to that medium and you make in return make money?
So thefisayo.com is a travel and tourism brand. What we do is that our vision is to change the African narrative, thereby driving sales and promotion of tourism destinations in Nigeria and Africa. How have we been able to make money? Now look at Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is in the business of social media. He is one of the inventors in the social media space, and he makes his money through advertisements. So that's one of the major ways we make money. We make money on our blog, on our YouTube. Also taking people on tours because of the use of social media. People say, okay, please take us on tours to these particular places. Mostly through advertisements on our sites, through social media campaigns. People do activations. Travel brands do activations using influencers like myself, because I position myself as an influencer because of the fact that I have a blog. What else? Newsletter. Mostly advertisements, really. Yeah.
Okay, so you actually tell stories by what you see, what you have captured over time, and you tell that story in such a way that people are able to see and probably go visit that particular place you're telling that story. So many say that small, medium, and large businesses are now they are now at a level playing field. Yes, you know, I said with my narrative earlier that, okay, then we talked about advertisement and big budgets, and small businesses, startups couldn't even cope. But now, would you say they are coping, really?
I would say definitely, because if you want to advertise on Facebook, for instance, your budget can be as minimal as 1,000 naira per week.
1,000 naira per week?
Depends on the kind of reach you want to have. Okay. You have to make sure you streamline your reach to your target audience. You don't reach everybody, depending on what kind of product you're selling. If you're in travel business, for example, Facebook has developed so many tools that will say, okay, I want people within Nigeria alone, not even within Nigeria, that's too broad, within Lagos, that are travel enthusiasts that look up for this kind of post. You can really streamline it, and that will bring down your budget, and that will also make you get enough traction for what you want.
Okay, so the social media week has come to stay.
Yes.
And almost every year we'll see people from out and within trooping in. And it's done in different countries from what we are seeing. And we see that it's been able to transform the outlook generally, the digital business outlook. Tell us about this year's social media week and how top on the discussion there really, and how businesses have been able to take ideas away from that place to make use of it.
So I see social media week as a networking event, actually. Unlike last year where I went for every day, which was 5 days, this year I went for just 1 day for the travel event that took place on Tuesday. I see it as a networking event. You get there, you meet people that you would not normally have access to. There are big people, celebrities come there, even politicians are there. Everybody come there to network, to grow their business. You also attend conferences where you can leverage on knowledge of people that have gone ahead of you to know how to, put in more effort in whatever business or skill that you're, majoring in.
But this week, is it about age, really? Because, okay, I'm hearing, yes, technology, many young ones seem to be much more compliant when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
And from research, from what I was told, that millennials would even take over the workforce in the next 4 to 5 years. And social media, technology is what is going to be driving that, really. And companies have to begin to align their policies and decisions and vision towards technology. What's your take on that, truly? Yes, you are a young person in this business of travels. Do you think the young ones are actually ready, truly?
So millennials are the fastest fingers. When something comes out, they are easy to step on it.
And so you're telling me now millennials are taking over, fastest fingers, okay?
Yes.
Go on.
So with that said, it means that if people don't improve their skills, their knowledge on areas that they are deficient in, then millennials will take over. But if they do keep at pace, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is not so much of our age. I think it's close to 30 or even above 30. But it's even the pioneer of this era. So I don't think millennials should take over if every other person, you know, come to terms with their skills, improve on their skills and knowledge, basically. Yeah.
Okay, improving on our skills and knowledge. So where do you see social media driving the economy of Nigeria? Let's say in the next, let's even give it the next 3 years. Many people benchmark 5 years.
So before 2 years ago, I was not in this business. I was not an influencer. I didn't have a blog, but because of social media, I have. So that's just my story, and that's not even all of it. And that has given birth to so many more bloggers, so many more people, because they see your success. People want to, you know, follow suit. Now, I didn't go into blogging because people were going into blogging. I went into blogging because I basically wanted to give back knowledge on the books I read and all that. For the next 2 to 3 years, social media, I mean, Airbnb, for example, is a company based on technology. Okay. Many more businesses will transform into leveraging on technology, using social media as a tool for marketing. So in the next 2 to 3 years, I believe a lot more people, right now, if we are, let's say we have 50% of social media acquisition in Nigeria, in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have over 70%.
Wow. Next 2 to 3 years from Fisaya, over 70% of, let me use the word influencers, like you have said, will be using the social media platform to drive the economy. And we're already seeing it. We'll see how technology through this platform is helping to drive many businesses, especially when it comes to small businesses and platforms. And from information that we are getting from a recent study, it says Facebook and Instagram are the top 2 channels that SMEs use for communication with customers. How true is that? Facebook, Instagram?
Well, I wake up with Instagram after the Bible. So I'm very sure that statistics is true. And my mom, she's always on Facebook. I believe Facebook is more for the older people, Instagram is more for the young people. So I believe that's true because everywhere I go, Instagram, everybody's always trying to update their story, telling the people what's up with their next step in, you know, in their day-to-day business.
Well, she wakes up with the Instagram just like her Bible. Fisayo, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. You're watching Business Nigeria. We'll take a break and return with more. Just stay with us. This is Business Nigeria. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics show prices of kerosene and diesel increased in January, and according to the NBS, the price of kerosene increased by 5.3% to 306 naira.28 kobo per litre last month from 290 naira 74 kobo last December. Now the price of diesel rose 1.59% to 225 naira 9 kobo from 221 naira 56 kobo. But average price that consumers paid for petrol dropped by 0.1% to 145 naira 70 kobo in January from 145 naira 80 kobo. Let's get to the stock market, and it has recently moved up with higher prices, giving surprises to some analysts who anticipated complete negative trends, and that's due to election fever. It's the last trading day before the presidential election in Nigeria. Stockbroker Gbenga Ogunriola joins me now via phone to talk to us about this. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, the market has ended, and in a few hours from now, Nigerians will head to the poll. How did the market end today, this Friday, a day before the elections?
Yes, the market ended positively today. The all-share index was up by 0.81% today. And aside from that, there was encouraging volumes even at the market also today. Totally, we did about 6.4 billion naira worth of transactions today. So the market is in high hope, believing that after the elections, believing that all things going well, more investors will come into the market. So we have locals already positioning for such move.
Okay, is it about high hopes or the market is totally oblivious of what's happening?
Well, the market believes that Nigeria has come to stay, that nothing is going to happen. And yes, there might be skirmishes here and there, but we believe that overall that things will still go well. And for a discerning investor, I believe that you take position in such period of uncertainty, and at the end of the day, it pays off for you.
Yes, investors seem to have a renewed interest in the market, and as you said, they're taking position, just waiting to see how the elections will turn out before they can begin to have probably huge investments. So tell us about the stocks or the equities that took the day that made that positive outlook possible.
Well, generally, the banking stocks has always been the toast of investors, the likes of GTB, Zenith Bank, and you have the likes of First Bank, Access Bank, and UBA also trying to match up. But generally, the foreign investors would rather put their securities in stocks that they believe are very liquid, that's the banking stocks. Today, we had about 1.5 billion naira worth of transaction alone on GTB. And same thing also goes for Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank had almost 1 billion naira worth of transaction also on it. So those are the stocks that generally the investors normally take position on, and they've set their targets already and they are in place.
Yes, we've witnessed this positive outlook in the past week. Nearly 700 billion naira has been recovered as market connection comes up. Now, does this suggest a long-time market growth?
Yes, it does. You know, generally, if you look at the pattern that we see after the elections, it's always that of immediately after the election, you see a progressive movement upward of the market. And again, during the election year or prior to the election year, there's a slowdown. So we believe that going forward, in the next 4 years, we are likely to see more interest in the market, more participation, and better profitability for investors.
Okay, just before I let you go, how are you preparing for the elections?
Well, in the market, it's still business as usual. Market closed at 2:30 today. I learned some banks are closed earlier, but for those of us in the capital market, we have a duty to perform, and we've done that. It's 2:30, and the market has closed for the day. And we're all hoping that it will be a free and fair election, and that whoever wins, that investors will come in as a result of the fact that they have belief in the country, and that Nigeria affords them the opportunity to make good money in terms of return on investment.
Well, I'm sure you're also going to exercise your duty tomorrow. Stockbroker Gbenga Ogunriola, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. In other news, the Ugandan government has deported the chief executive officer of MTN Uganda, Wayne Van Elepute, over security issues. A letter signed by Uganda's Internal Affairs Minister, General Jeje Odongo, ordered the MTN boss to stay outside Uganda indefinitely. Reports say the MTN chief is already at Entebbe Airport, and government officials believe the telecoms boss is a security risk to Uganda. Other staff members of MTN Uganda are being investigated, and investigations began last July after the Internal Security Organization raided their call center in Mutundwe, a Kampala suburb, and confiscated company servers. Well, trade talks between the U.S. and China have broken up without a deal. China says negotiations would now continue in the U.S. next week, and the U.S. is warning that very difficult issues remain unresolved. The talks in China this week were aimed at securing a new deal before further U.S. tariffs are imposed on March the 1st. President Xi Jinping says he hopes talks next week would continue to work hard to promote a mutually beneficial and win-win agreement. The two countries have been locked in an escalating trade war, imposing duties on billions of dollars worth of each other's goods. Well, we're talking about a social media week, and this seems to be a way the banking sector wants to be supporting some subsectors in the non-oil sector. And they include the movie, the music, information technology, and fashion industries. That decision was taken at the Bankers Committee meeting in Abuja. The Apex Bank and commercial banks expect this to support government's diversification drive and grow non-oil output. Now, the intervention will start before the second quarter.
The industry realizes that it requires funding at reasonable interest rates and, of course, under appropriate structures, all right, to make sure that those industries are taken from their nascent stage where they are right now until they become profitable and can basically support their own various value chains. So that was one sector that the industry looked at, and hopefully we should begin to see the impact coming from the next quarter.
The Bankers Committee dwell at length on a number of initiatives that we believe will help improve our GDP growth, will help create jobs, and will help reduce poverty in a number of ways.
The banks are saying, with the CBN, that we can forget oil if only we can provide this. And the banks themselves are making provision from their profit as part of the 5% of their profit in the AXMIS fund.
Talking about the non-oil sector in Nigeria and how the central bank can actually help in aiding activities of the non-oil sector. But let's look at what trading is like in the crude oil prices generally, and that's in the global market. Well, information says they have tipped upward at the world market, indicating possible price runs. And this is coming on the heels of Saudi Arabia announcing intention to develop more upstream and downstream oil and gas fields. This will ensure availability of huge volumes of crude at different times. Meanwhile, India says it will continue to import crude oil from Venezuela despite warnings from the U.S. And that's how we wrap it on Business Nigeria today. Many thanks for watching. I am Yemisi Lanre Idowu.